Hello guys, good morning to all. Welcome to Servlet session. Today we shall see session tracking or also called as session handling. So what is session handling, what is session tracking and what are its types, as well as how to implement the session tracking in real world Java web applications, and as well as comparison between those and to understand the pros and cons of those session tracking, which technique to use when. So before proceeding to learn what is session tracking or handling and to understand its various types or techniques as well as practical implementation of session tracking and handling techniques and comparison between those and etc. First of all, understand what is the need of session tracking or what is session. Until unless we don't know need, when to use session tracking, why to use session tracking, when to use session tracking, why to use session tracking, why to use, as well as where to use, then understanding of session tracking is useless. So first of all, understand the need. Then we'll go for understanding what is session tracking, when to use session tracking, why to use session tracking, and as well as where. Okay, let me create an environment in your mind. What's the need of session tracking and why to use session tracking? Generally, every web application contains web resource program, or you can call form pages. And whenever we want to send the data, client data from client or browser window to server to the web application, we generally use the form pages, right? So form pages contains some input tags and some other attributes tags. So with the help of those input tags, checkboxes, radio buttons, and all those tags and etc., we can able to fill those forms and able to send those HTML tags data contents to the server. So form pages. So as I learned now, what is the use of form page? Means where to use the form page whenever you want to send the data from client to server. At that time we can use form pages. So what are the different types of form pages are there? There are the form pages are categorized into two types. First is static form page and second is dynamic form page. Static form page are responsible or contains a fixed data or fixed contents. Static form page are responsible to generate fixed contents or fixed data, whereas dynamic form page contains varying contents. Dynamic form page are responsible to generate varying content, and static form page you can create or you can generate by using .html files, whereas dynamic form page we can generate by using the logic of server-side web resource programs like Servlet or JSP or any other. Then how to create a dynamic form page? To create dynamic form page, what we have to do? We have to keep the form tag, input tag, and other HTML tags in out.println statements of a Servlet program or JSP programs, and that out.println kept form tags or input tags or any other tags will be kept in out.println statements will be generated as a dynamic form page as a response. Okay, now I learned about what is a form page, when to use, and different types of form page or how they are categorized. Now understanding or importance of dynamic form page, as I said to you, we can use HTML files. We can use HTML file based form page to generate the static form pages, right? As well as to generate a dynamic form page, we can use servlets or JSPs. The form page that comes as a response, of a web resource program, like Servlet program or JSP program having dynamic components and contents is called as dynamic form page. Means we are not keeping the source code as it is fixed. Based on the requirement, based on the logic, we write those dynamic form page components in a Servlet and JSP, and those dynamic form page components, whatever the dynamic components were written in Servlets and JSPs, those will be sent as a response to the browser window, and that will treat as a dynamic components, and those dynamic components are also called as dynamic form page contents. So to generate, how can I able to generate? As I said to you, we have to keep or we have to place form tag or input tags or any other tags in out.println statements. So as I said to you earlier, form page are responsible to send the client data or browser data from browser window to server in the to the server to access or to send the data of client window or browser window to server, or you can call web application. So to read a large amount of data from end user, it is not recommended to take single static form page. It is not recommended to take single static form page where end user will be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. Take an example. A form page contains a large amount of information to be filled by the end user, and that form page is loaded onto browser window, but some of the fields, some of the tags, some of the informations which is not related to that users. So definitely what the end user will do, end user will be forced to read all those information which is not related, or you can call unrelated, and definitely that end user, the unrelated questions will be skipped or ignored. So what the alternative solutions? So at that time it is recommended to at that time it is recommended to use dynamic form page. So one more alternative solution is there to create dynamic form page, that is we can use JavaScript or scripting based technologies. So let me show you one diagram that understand how end user will be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions if you use static form page to get the data from end user. If you use static form page to get the data from the end user. So if you look at this diagram, actually in yesterday's session only I taught this tutorial, but coincidentally what happened, this tutorial has been lost. This tutorial is not able to play. Okay, this tutorial is not able to play. You can see a session tracking, session handling, part 1, part 2. Okay, is not able to play. So that's what again I'm decided to recreate once again. So let us understand. Anyway, yesterday's 3 hours has been wasted, as well as we have lost the data in the form of videos, tutorials. So let us understand once again. So understand if you use static form page to get the data from end user, then end user will be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. So if you observe in this diagram, you will find a browser window and you will find one web application which is deployed in the server, and the database contains a table whose name is details table. Now in the browser window, details.html is a form page. It's a static form page. So let me open with the pen and let me edit this form page. So let me write here static form page. Okay, this is my static form page. So let me keep small somewhat. This is my static form page. Okay, this is my static form page. So the static form page whose name is details.html, which has been loaded onto my browser window and contains some fields like name, age, father name, marital status as a checkbox, married or unmarried, then spouse name, or you can call husband name, husband name. Okay, fine. Spouse name or husband name. Okay. Number of children, when to marry and why to marry, and you will find two buttons, reset button and submit button. And in the web application which has been deployed, whose name is static form page web application, contains one Servlet program, and database table contains details table, and whose are same fields. Total 8 fields are there: name, age, father name, marital status as married, spouse name or husband name, then child, when to marry, why to marry. So just have a look. Let me save and just have the look. Just if you look at the example, now end user is filling this information. Paint. So let me keep here the contents and static form page. Okay, this is static form page. And let me keep here husband name, here is husband name, or let me keep here or. Okay, guys, so if you look at this form, so let me go for full screen. So details.html, when the end user fills the name, his age is 16, father name is Mahadev, he's not married, it's a checkbox. Definitely will be, if it is not married means single, or we can call bachelor. If it is not married, then spouse name. If it is not married, then spouse name. Definitely not married means unmarried or single or bachelor. He will not enter his spouse name, right? The number of children, definitely, obviously there is no questions. If it is unmarried or bachelors, no children are there. And when to marry, he or she want to get after marry, when to marry, after 5 years or after 10 years, what are the age he will decide. 5 years. Why to marry? To get a personal friend, but while filling this form, just you can observe, he intentionally or were forcing the end user will be forced to read and ignore two fields or two some unrelated questions regarding to marriage life, and that will be ignored, like spouse name or husband name and number of children. And when he hit the submit button, that request should be trapped by web applications and sent to Servlet program whose name is SRV1, and Servlet program will gather that request, read that data from the request parameter, and will process that request and interact with the database table, contains details, and insert the record into database. You can see here Shankar 16, Mahadev no, null and null. Why null and null or empty and empty? Because spouse name is empty, number of children is empty. Spouse name is empty and number of children is empty. Definitely he is unmarried. Okay, not married. So null and null. When to marry? After 5 years. And why to marry? To get a good friend or to get a personal friend. This is one case. One more case. Now if I enter the information like Rajesh, suppose if I enter the information, let me close here. Let me close this form also, and let me load one more form. So here is Shankar. Okay guys, so let me load this form. So open with Paint. Otherwise leave it as it is. I don't need this form. So if you look at this form, again I'm trying to enter some information regarding to Rajesh. Suppose I enter the name Rajesh, whose age is 23, and then father name is Ganesha. Marital status, if you selected checkbox yes sir, then definitely he has here. Otherwise let me give the field on that new, open with Paint, and let me get those fields. Okay, let me have this form again. Okay, so I'll have the new form. Open with Paint. Suppose the user enters the forms, escape, Control Z. Now the user entered the information. Like Rajesh. Okay, fine. Now I'm filling all the information here. Now you can see here Rajesh. Here I entered the Rajesh, right? So you can see here Rajesh. Now whose age? If I enter here, suppose 45. Okay, so I'll remove here. I'll remove the age from here. It's not 23. Let me remove this age. So remove this age, and let me add here age as a 45. Okay, so it is 45. So guys, and father name he has entered as a Ganesh, and marital status, let me add the marital status as a married. This guy is married. Okay, married, it's a checkbox. Okay, Fine. Married, right? Is married. Now definitely we'll go for proceeding the spouse name. He has entered the spouse name as a Rani. Okay, Rani. Number of children, he has the children's called 2. Number of children's 2. Again the question, if you observe this question, when to marry? This guy is already married. This guy is already married. When to marry? Huh? If I am already married, I am already married, already married. Why to marry once again? Why to get married once again? Okay, fine. When to marry? I am already married. Okay, fine. So I'm already married, so there is no questions. This guy is already married. Okay, fine. And when to marry? No use. Why to marry? No use, because this guy is already married. So when you hit the submit button, the request will be trapped by the web application. Then web application will send that request to the web application, to the Servlet program of that web application. So Servlet program 1, that is SRV1, will grab that request and will read the request parameter, query string parameter attributes, and process that logic. So here, static form page web app contains static form page web app will track that request and send the request along with the data to the Servlet program. The Servlet program name is SRV1. Will process that logic, and after processing the logic, or after reading all the query string in my details.html, will send that data to my database. Database contains a table whose name is details.html, and data will be saved. Right? So here, if you observe here, when to marry and why to marry, 2 fields are empty. So obviously Rajesh 45, Ganesh yes, and spouse name is Rani. Number of children are 2. When to marry, it's empty, null. Why to marry, its fields are empty, null. Right? So those fields are null. Right? So this is one example. So in the last session, in the last tutorial, I learned about. So if you look at this diagram for Shankar, his bachelor. We are forcing him or her to enter the spouse name or husband name, right? And in this example, we are forcing to the user or reading or ignoring some of the related questions regarding when to marry and why to marry. So this is regarding to static form page. So open with the paint. This is static form page. So let me add here. Let me add the label here. Static form page. Okay, fine. So here is static form page. Okay, fine. And here spouse name, or you can call or husband name. So this is one way. Okay guys, so just why I understood this question. So in the static form page, we are forcing and asking to the user to enter some of the data. Okay, so this is the limitation or the drawback if you use static form page. Okay, so the problem with this, if you observe this problem, so to read the large amount of data from the end user, so the conclusion is it is not recommended to take a single static form page. So where end user will be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. So in this diagram 1 of static form page, the end user is forced to read and ignore marriage type related questions, even though he or she has not selected marital status. What is the solution? To overcome this problem, ask some common questions in the first static form page and then ignore and then generate static form page based on the content given in the first form page. First form page. First form page. As a result of this solution process, the end user will not be forced and embarrassed to read and ignore certain questions. So let me create one example. So already I taught in yesterday's session, so but we are lost coincidentally. So yesterday's session, I taught everything in yesterday's session, but I have lost. So the web application is ready. The web application is ready along with me. So let me create one web application to explain you 54 static form page web app. So this is a deployment descriptor structure. So it contains details.html. It's a static form page. It's a static form page. Static form page. Okay. And contains web.inf. A deployment descriptor file whose name is web.xml contains classes folder, and under the classes we have Servlet 1 and Servlet 2. First of all, let me go with Servlet 1 only, not Servlet 2. Let me go with Servlet 1, servlet1.java or .class file. Otherwise, you can have this also. So you can mention here .class, and here is, let me remove. Okay, .class file. Okay, guys, so done. So before proceeding further to create this web applications, first of all, create the table. Already I created a table in my MySQL. So I'm using SQL yoke. Even you can check here. Root. So use test. So I think person table I created. Let me check it here. As I said to you, this table is created in yesterday's session, but my bad luck, my bad fate, I lost that video tutorials, and the video is corrupted. It's my bad fate. So select star from person. So you can see here. So in yesterday's session I learned about this. Okay, but here you can see this table. Okay, describe person. So you can see here name, age, father, married, spouse, children, and when to marry, why to marry. So this table contains all this information. Okay, fine. Otherwise, let me open this table with the help of SQL yoke. So here is SQL yoke. You can see here continue and connect. Once you hit the connect, you will find a test person, and you can find the structure. If I go for altering the table, you can find the same structure. So this is the structure, guys. Okay, fine. So name varchar 50, age varchar 50, father varchar 50. I made everything varchar because I'm not interested to go for typecasting and converting string integer to string and all the stuff and float. Just I want to show you that how data can be inserted in my database tables, and some fields may be the blank or it may be the null or empty. That's it. When to marry, why to marry, and the childs. Okay, fine. So as I said to you, I lost that yesterday's tutorial. So these are the data. Pramod 34, Harishchandra married. Okay, and Sujana and everything. Okay, fine guys. So fine. So let me minimize and let me close this MySQL also. Otherwise, let me keep it as it is. So as well as we have to add the jar. So if you look at this example, so already I have this example. So let me expand this 54. Okay, 54. This 54 example contains web pages, and I added the details.html. So open. So already it's in open stage. So let me bring it down, and you can see the source code. So understanding control Z. So you can see here it's doc type. So yesterday I created this tutorial, but because of power loss and RAM issues, my whole video session tutorial video has been corrupted. So here you can see doc type. Please excuse guys, it's a homework. So you can see here, so HTML tag and added some header. What's the need, understanding the need of session tracking. So here let me add understanding the need of, hey, understanding the need of session tracking and session handling. So let's understand how end user will be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions if you use static form page to get the data from the end user. And it contains one form tag. So form tag contains action, that is SRV1. Okay, here is a name. So name, then age, then you can see your marital status. This may not be visible, let me bring it to left, somewhat left. Okay, marital status, it's a checkbox. Husband name or spouse name, number of children, when to marry, why to marry, and a button contains submit, and one more button contains reset. Okay, this is about my form in my details.html. And then let me proceed for my sources added SRV1. So just open its SRV1. So this is SRV1. So let me close all remaining stuff. SRV1, these are the import packages. Actually, this why I added all this stuff, because this yesterday's I lost the tutorial. The video has been corrupted. So again, today I'm trying to create once again. Okay, fine. So this code has been written in yesterday's session. So here is my added one solid whose name is SRV1, which extend HTTP solid. I created two references. One is connection, one is second is prepared statement, and contains process request. So process request, let me set the here we have set the content type and get the prepared object. So up to here, I want to read the form data. The form data first, let me hold p name. You can see here p name, ph, father, married, s name, child, when to marry, why to marry. Okay, so all this information has been gathered by using request parameters. So p name hold into name, ph hold into age, father has been hold into father, married, ms has been hold into, ms is a checkbox, hold into married. So s name, that is spouse name or husband name, has been hold to spouse, child hold into child. Then when to marry, request parameter value has been received into when, and why to marry has been received into why. Okay, if the marital status is single, if marital status is not checked, if this checkbox is not checked, then married is a single. And here we are trying to show some entered user information. Okay, fine. So let me bring it to left for not visibility side. Okay, then this is about the font and remaining color and the name. I'm trying to show name, father name, spouse, number of children, when to marry, why to marry, okay, fine. Meanwhile, so let me let me load the driver class name. So here is driver class name, which is from the jar file, that is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. So here I added the jar. Let me show you that jar. That is MySQL connector. -java, and the version is version bin.jar. So you can see this jar. Okay, fine. And so class.forName, and this is the driver class name hold into driver connection, driver manager. Get connection method, let me pass three parameters. First parameter is the JDBC protocol. JDBC URL contains the protocol, JDBC protocol, MySQL protocol, that is JDBC // then my database is installed in my current machine, whose name is localhost, or you can use machine name, or you can use 127.0.0.1, and your MySQL database is running on the port number called 3306, and the database name is test, whose username is root and password is root, right? The same parameters for, you can see same parameters for parameters are different, but statements are same for Oracle. So let me insert the data into my person table. Let me insert my data into my person table. So you can see this per query. In the query, so if you look at the query, okay, fine. So if you look at the query, string query, insert into person values. So here is my person table. So describe person, this is my person table. Okay, fine. So in my person table, insert into person table contains 8 question marks, 1 2 3 4 and another 4. This is a totally 8 question marks, 8 parameters. So let me prepare the statements by passing the query, and let me set all our string parameters. Okay, so name, age, father, married, spouse, child, when to marry, why to marry. So here int result, execute update. If result is equal to 1, then let me show you, let me give the message, confirmation message to the browser, or let me send the response to the browser window, that is result person information has been saved successfully to database, and else database insertion failed. Okay, fine. And close the condition, close the prepared statement. Actually this way is not recommended. First of all, I have to go reverse order, so close. Okay, fine guys. So this is the case. Then at last, just scroll down, just end of catch block, finally, then out, then you'll find do get is internally calling process method, process request method, and as well as do post is internally calling process request method. So here you'll find get Servlet info. Okay, then that's it. Don't forget to add the jar. So how to add the jar? Right click on libraries, add jar to folder, add jar or folder, hit. So here you'll find MySQL connector -java 5.1.0 and hit the open. Okay guys, so this is about the jar. So here already I created projects in my Apache Tomcat, and let me go to my web.xml file. If you use Java EE file, then you need to configure web.xml file by using Servlet tag and Servlet name and Servlet class, as well as Servlet mapping by passing the URL. So this URL is srv1, has been configured in details.html, whereas the action as a URL, that is srv1. So this srv1 is configured here in my web.xml. So this is srv1 done. Okay boss, fine. So it's a time to run the application. So right click on static form page. So let me go for run. So it's running. It will take a time because it has to start the server, and server is starting. Now I don't want to restore. So if you look at this form, first of all, let me delete this information. From my MySQL, and let me enter the new information. So delete selected rows. Yes, deleted. Refresh. Okay, let me show you. Select star from person. There are no records now. It's empty. Now here let me enter Yogesh. Age, suppose if I enter here 39. Okay. Father name, if I enter here Harishchandra, yes, it's married. I'm married. Spouse name, if I enter here Shivangi, and number of children, suppose I entered here 2 children. When to marry? No, I'm already married, boss. I'm already married. Okay. There's no question of marrying once again. So it is enforcing me. It is forcing me to enter all this information. Why to marry? Already married. Why to marry once again? So I don't want to get married. So simply let me hit continue. Hit the continue. So you can see here entered user information is name Yogesh and blah blah blah. So number of children up to here 2. When to marry? No. These 2 informations are blank, and 1 person information saved or inserted database successfully. Let me show you. So select star from person, Yogesh 39, Harish Chandra, married, spouse name Shubhangi, child 2, when to marry blank. So you can see here two fields are blank, when to marry, why to marry. This is one question. Suppose, let me go for one more example. Now reset. Now I'm entering someone else. Suppose if I enter here Saraswati. Okay. Age, suppose if I enter here, what should I enter here? Suppose if I enter here 17. Father name Brahma. Okay, Brahma. Married? No, it's not. She's not married, so it's unchecked. Okay, fine. Definitely, she's not married. So spouse name or husband name, there is no need to enter spouse name. So we are forcing. Number of children, obviously not married, right? So there is no question of raising number of children. If it is married, might be having chance. Okay, when to marry? So maybe she want to get the marry after 10 years. Let me enter here after 9 years. So after 9 years, why to marry? To get a personal friend. So if you observe this form, in this form, spouse name or husband name and number of children, she left intentionally blank, right? Because she's unmarried, she's bachelor, she's single. So when I hit continue, so you can see here name, age, father name, marriage status, it is up to here single. Okay. Spouse name and number of children are blank. When to marry, why to marry, she has filled. Okay. So if I go to my database and when I refresh, so you can see here Saraswati. What Saraswati contains? 17, Brahma, single. But you can find here two fields are empty. When to marry, after 9 years, get personal friend. So you can see same records in my MySQL prompt also. Okay, fine. So Saraswati 17, Brahma, single. Spouse name or husband name blank. Child names blank. Child number of childs blank. But when to marry? After 9 years. Why to marry? Get personal friend. So these are the question may raise. Means we are forcing to the user to enter. We are forcing to the user to enter or to read and ignore some marriage life related questions, even though he or she has not interested or selected that marital status checkbox. Okay, are you getting? So these are the questions. So how to resolve this? How to resolve this problem? How to resolve such type of problems? So to resolve such type of problems, so in this above web application, the end user is forced to read and ignore marriage life related questions, even though he or she has not selected the marital status checkbox, right? Then what the solution? The solution is ask some common questions in first form page, which is a static form page, and generate second form page dynamically, as a response, as a dynamic response, okay, based on the content given in the first form page. As a result of this solution process, then the end user will not be forced or embarrassed to read and ignore certain questions of form pages. So to achieve this, we have to use the session. So guys, you will come to know what is session actually. So to achieve this by using, we can generate by using dynamic form pages. So dynamic form pages is also part of sessions. So first of all, understand the session. What is session? Session, it's a set of continuous and related operations performed on web application by client or browser window with the support of multiple request and response. multiple requests and responses. Silent करून दिला. Silent कर दिला. So what is session, guys? Set of continuous and related operations performed on web application. So I am trying to perform multiple operations and those operations are continuous operations and which are on web applications by the client, or you can call browser window, with the support of multiple requests, and based on multiple requests definitely multiple responses will be generated. Those are called as, and that this process is called as session. So what are the examples of session? Login to log out in Gmail or Yahoo, booking movie tickets. These are real-time examples. So these are the real-time examples of session. Okay, real-time examples of sessions. So login to log out in Gmail or Yahoo, then booking to movie tickets, then remember user identity during a session of email operations. Silent kar dena. So next, while developing shopping cart applications in online shopping websites, show me mobile lemona. So while developing shopping cart applications in online shopping websites, where items selected by the end user, okay. So here items selected by the end user by generating multiple requests will be remembered. To remember user identity during an e-commerce session, to remember credit or debit card details during a session while performing web-based online transactions, as well as to remember player identity while playing online games. Then to remember customer identity while performing online stock exchange brokerage. Then to remember end user choices and interact towards look and appearance of web pages if website allows to customize look and appearance, as well as to render direct advertisement in websites. So these are some of the examples of session. Let us see about diagram 2. So who generates dynamic form page? So this problem to be solved. This is the problem. So in this diagram 1, in this above web applications regarding static form page web app. So here we are forcing to the end user to read and ignore marriage life related questions even though he or she has not selected that marriage status checkbox. Okay. Then what is the solution, guys? The solution is we have to ask some common questions in first form page, which is static form page, and generate second form page dynamically as a dynamic response based on the content given in the first form page. As a result of this solution process, the end user will not be forced or embarrassed to read and ignore certain questions of form page. So let us understand this second diagram, second case, how to generate dynamic form page. How to generate this dynamic form page. Okay, fine. So let me go to my, just if you observe here, first let me explain this diagram. So open with the paint and let me use full screen. If you observe this diagram also contains browser window, details.html and dynamic web page, dynamic one web application whose name is generate to dynamic form page based on the contents of a static form page whose name is details.html. So static form page contains details.html. It's a static form page. Contains some fields, name, age, and marital status. It's a checkbox. So let me add here. So escape. So let me write here. So it's a checkbox. So checkbox. Okay. So here it's a checkbox, guys. So and apart from this, okay, fine. And then let me go for full screen. In the browser window, you will find शिवाय आवाज नको करू ना, बाहेर नाही घेणं पाणी, का बरं इथनं घ्यायची गरज आहे? So in the browser window, you'll find details.html, static form page, name, age, marital status, it's a checkbox, married. Then when the user submits, the request will be trapped by dynamic to form page. It's a web application, and send to Servlet 1. Send to Servlet 1. It's a Servlet program, and Servlet program the Servlet program contains the logic to identify whether the user is married or unmarried, and if it is married, if the user is married based on the checkbox selected, then Servlet program 1 will generate the dynamic form page, that is form 2 as a response, contains spouse name or husband name. Spouse name or husband name. So here you can see, so number of children, okay, thank you. So guys, here you can see, if it is married, if it is married, then generate dynamic form page form 2, that is spouse name and number of children. Okay, because it's married, so married person information is spouse name or husband name and the number of children. Then submit. When the submit button gets pressed, the request has been sent to Servlet program 2, and Servlet program 2 will show all this information in the dynamic web page. This is case 1. If I go for case 2, if the user entered the information in static form page, that is details.html, age, then marital status, it's not married, its checkbox is unchecked. Now person is unmarried. When the user submits this information, now Servlet program 1 will trap that request and checks whether married or unmarried. If it is unmarried, then Servlet 1 program is responsible to generate dynamic form page contains dynamic contents, because person is unmarried, right? Person is single or bachelor. So it will ask us some questions like when to marry, why to marry. These are related questions, right? These are related questions. So the person will submit and will be tracked, and once the submit form dynamic form page filled and submit button has been clicked by the end user, that request has been trapped by Servlet program 2 in connection to, and send the response to browser window as a dynamic web page. So let's look at the example. So if you look at this example, so open with Paint. If I open with Paint, so if you look at the example, in this example, so this is the browser window. In this browser window, details.html, static form page. This form is already filled in yesterday's session. Why? Because power cut, and as I said to you earlier, I have lost the video tutorial contents and the video has been corrupted, so I could not publish that corrupted video to the advanced Java course, Servlet course. So today I created, so this is already filled the form. So name is Amol, age is 45. This guy is married, right? When he hit the submit, then condition 1 will be created between browser window and the web application with the help of web server with network. Then request 1, this is request 1. If married, generate the response 1 from request 1 in connection 1. So it's married, right? So ask some related questions. What are the related questions? Ask the spouse name or husband name. Ask the spouse name or husband name, right? So here husband name or husband name. Okay. So ask spouse name or husband name, right? Okay. So he has entered. So based on the married, he has entered his spouse name is Geeta and number of children 4. So after entering this information, so let me go for full screen. So based on the marriage status, the Servlet program 1 generates the dynamic response. Generate the dynamic response as a dynamic form page to the browser, which sends the dynamic response to the browser window as a dynamic form page contains spouse name or husband name and number of children. So these are the related questions. These are the related questions. So end user will fill Geeta, and 4 submits. Whenever end user submits this dynamic form page or clicks on submits, the request to send to Servlet program 2, request will be sent to Servlet program 2. Servlet program 2 traps that request and tries to show the information as a dynamic web page onto my browser. So here user has entered his spouse name as a Geeta and number of children as a Geeta and number of children as a 4, right? So you can see the contents. Let me change the size and the color to red. So you can see here Geeta and 4. So you can see here Geeta and 4. But in this dynamic form page, name is null, age is null, and married is null. Name is null, age is null, and married is null, right? Right, guys? Why? Because as I said to you, we are performing multiple requests. On this web application. So this web application will not gather the previous, will not have the previous request related data. Okay, so let me add into my connection here. Okay, this is connection 2. This is my connection 2, and let me keep this connection here. This is in connection 2. Let me add the contents here, and this is the connection. This is connection 2 for request 2 and response 2. Okay, fine. This is one case. The second case is there. Second case is also there, guys. Okay, so second case, this is one case. Okay, this is second case. So this is connection 1 and this is connection 2. So just do observe why this name F11, why this name is null, age is null, and married is null. Why? Because in connection 1 you will find request 1 and response 1, right? In connection 2 you will find request 2 and response 2. As I said to you, the current request could not gather previous request related data. Okay, that's what name is null and age is null. Name is null and age is null, right? Name is null and age is null. So here in this case, during a session, during this process, our web application is not capable. Our web application is not capable to gather previous request related data into second request and send the response to the dynamic web page to the browser as a dynamic web page to the browser. So this is connection 1. This is connection 2. Connection 1 contains request 1 and response 1. Connection 2 contains request 2 and response 2. Request 2 could not gather the data which has been processed and passed by the browser window details.html to the server in the form of request 1, could not gather. So this is the case. In this case, the name is null and age is null. Okay, name is null and age is null. Okay, guys, so let me have the copy and let me go for case 2. So close and let me have the copy. Control C, Control V. So this is the copy, right? This is the copy. Let me close and let me use here 1.2. Okay, 1.1, 1.2, F2. So here 1.1. So in the second case, let me go for second case. So open with paint. Now here is the person is Amol. The person, let me change the name, all the information here, and you will get all the information. So let me remove these contents. First of all, let me clear all these contents. Suppose here remove, this is not checkbox, it's checked, so it's unmarried. Obviously unchecked means unmarried. So guys, request one, if unmarried, fine. So if not married, okay, fine, let it keep as it is, and then I'll change the response. I'll change the response to second again. So submit. Then now in the second case, let me write here unmarried. So if married, and second case is unmarried. So let me write here if unmarried, if not married. Okay, if married, if married is false. Okay, if married is false, then if married is false, now in this case, so now in this case, in the second case, so if you look at here, suppose I'm trying to fill the information in this way. So I'm entering the information like here, it has entered by Saraswati, and age, her age is, she has entered 19. Okay, married? No, it's not married. Then solid program 1, then when she clicks the submit button, connection 1 will be generated and request 1 will be generated, and send the response to if married false. The process will be gathered married false. Okay, this is one case. If married is false, then send the response to, let me use some light line, if married is false. Okay, this is connection 1, and in this connection generate the response to the, not this form, to this form, right? Okay, fine guys. So unmarried, then form 2, dynamic form 2 contents will be generated. Dynamic form 2 will be generated. Okay guys, are you getting? From in request 1 only, in request 1 only. So response 1, this is my response 1. Okay, this is also my response 1. So let me change some more dark color because this may not be visible. Okay, response 1, if married false, if married false. In my previous case, it was married, so definitely it has to ask for spouse name or husband name and number of children. Now in second case, she is not married. If married is false, then dynamic form page is when to marry, why to marry, when to marry, why to marry. So she will enter the information like after 9 years, and why to marry, to get good friend, not good friend, to get personal friend, because everyone is good friend, every friend treats as a good friend, not to worry, to get personal friend, right? To get a personal friend. So in this case, so if it is unmarried, then not first form page is created, but it has created second form page, it has created dynamic form page second, this OR case. Okay, and when the user submits, the response, this same response has been trapped by, so escape, same response. So let me use here as a request 2. Okay, fine, in the connection 2 only, in the connection 2 itself. Okay, request 2. and we'll try to show the data. Then request 2 will be gathered by Servlet 2 program, and we'll try to show the data. So here in the second case, this is case 1. So let me add here case 1. So let me add here, and the size, let me use small size. This is case 2. And here let me add the contents. Here is my case 2. Okay, so here is case 2, that is if married is false. Okay, if here it married is true. Let me remove here contents. This was the earlier case, and let me remove here. And if married is true. Okay, here married is false. Okay, fine guys. So here you can see here also form 1 or request 1 data, you will find name. Again we will get the name as a null, then age is also null, and married also null. Why? You will see, because connection 2 could not gather request 1 related information into request 2. Request 1 related information or data in request 2. So that is the case. This is the case. Okay, fine. So let me enter here, and you can see here form 1. Actually it's not a form 1 request 1. Here I made mistake guys. It's not a form 1 request 1, so it's a form 2 request 2. Delete. It's not a form 1, right? It should be, if you keep ready-made as it is, this is the problem. Form 2 and request 2. So, and here is form 2 request 2. Form 2. It is dynamic form 2 as well as request 2. Okay, form 2 or request 2 data you will find here after 9 years, and personal friend. Okay guys, so this is the case. Okay, fine. I hope you are clear now. This is the second case. So FL1. Okay, fine. So connection 2, while its response is coming as a null for case 2 and case 1, because connection 2 could not gather request 1 related data as a response, and request 2 from connection 2 could not access or get request 1 related attributes informations in request 2 or in connection 2. That's what you can see here. Form 1 request 1 data, name is null, age is null, married is null. Don't worry, I will prove this practically. Even in case 2, name is null, age is null, and married is null, but request 2 data is available after 9 years and get some personal friend. So guys, so this is the case. So I want to create a web application now. So this is the flow of execution. So let me add the flow of execution contents one by one. So request 1. So this is 1. Request 1. I want to use here some more red color. Okay, flow of execution. So here is request. So this will be trapped by 2 Servlet will process that request if it is married or unmarried. If married, dynamic form page, this first form page will dynamic form page will be generated. If unmarried or married is false, the second form page will be generated. Okay, then this response, this is also 3, this is also 3, and this is also 3. Okay, response. Fine guys. So next, this request 2 as a response 4. Okay, and here is 5, here is 5, and this is the response 6. Okay, this is the 6th. Okay boss, fine. So let me scroll down, and this is your 7th, and this is the 7th. Here it's 7th. So star, let me keep your star to understand the flow of execution. What these star belongs to? These all are star. These all are flow of execution. So here also star. So here also star. What this star? This indicates the flow of execution. Flow of execution. Okay guys, so here also star. Okay boss, so here star indicates flow of execution. So here star for understand flow of execution. Okay boss, fine. So you can see now full page. So let us create the Java web application for case 1 and case 2. Case 1, if married, generate dynamic form page. If case 2, generate dynamic form page as a response, unmarried. Okay, fine. So let us create the Java web application. So guys, I'm going to use same code. So in this diagram, Servlet1 is reading the content of form page details.html and uses the values given by the marital status in the checkbox to generate form 2 as a dynamic form page with the dynamic content. So let us create the Java example web application. So what is the need to understand the session tracking or handling to generate a dynamic form page with dynamic contents. So in these applications, I need 2 Servlet programs, similar as previous. So let me create the Java web application first of all. So go to I'm going to use same, not to worry. I'll do fast because it's all too late. New project, file menu, new Java web, hit the next. So I want to use here 55, hit the next. Then Apache Tomcat, either you can use 5 or you can use JW6 web, or you can use JW5. If you use JW6, you need to use @WebSolid annotation. If you use JW5, need not to use @WebSolid annotation, and you need to configure your Servlet programs, all the Servlet programs in a web.xml file. So anyway, its ID will configure automatically. Fine, I don't care. So hit next and hit the finish. So let me check the web application name once again. So 55, last time it was 54. Hit next and finish. I will use same. Okay, fine. I'm not going to do anything great. So guys, so where is my, I think this is JSP. So this is JSP. I don't want this JSP to be here. Let me delete this JSP. I want .html to be added here. So simply I will copy and paste Otherwise, let me add the web pages. Right click, add HTML. Not 54. I want to add in 55. So this is my 55. Expand. I don't want anything from here. Source packages. Anything else is there? No. Okay, done. So guys, let's add the web page HTML. Let me add here details.html. So hit the finish. So I don't want these contents. I want to use this earlier contents. So page up, Control A, Control C. I will add into Control A, Control V. Okay, done guys. So I will add this information here, and I don't want this JSP. So let me delete this JSP first of all. I want to work with HTML. In JSP tutorial, we shall see about how to perform these operations by using JSP. So I don't need. So let me delete this JSP. Right click. So delete. So JSP is deleted now. Now let me close here. Save. I copied and pasted. So this is my details.html. So here I don't need. Understand how end user will be forced to read. Now in this case I want to change the label. So I want to generate dynamic form page with dynamic contents. So here let me change the label. Should not be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. Okay, and let me add here. Use here break tag, and here generate dynamic form page with dynamic contents. Okay, fine. So if you look at this form, it contains name. I want to use only these information: father name, marriage status. These information I don't want to add here. So delete this information. So delete this HTML tags are deleted. So down. This is the contents. Only I want to keep here name. If you look at this diagram, based on this diagram, you can see this diagram. So based on this diagram, I want name, age, marital status, and father name. That's it. Name, age, marital status, and father name or father name. So here I don't want to go for this father name, also not required. Okay, fine. And okay, fine, we'll keep as it is. If it is marital status and contains input buttons, fine. So if you run this application, first of all, let me go to web.xml and let me configure index.jsp to welcome file list to the details.html and run this 55 dynamic form page. So no, run. So you can see here, understanding the need of session tracking or session handling. Understand how end user should not be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. So generate dynamic form page with dynamic contents: name, age, father name, and marital status. Okay, that's it. Guys. Okay, fine. So this is about my form page. And so let me go to my, now this is my details. Let me add a solid. As per this explanation. Let me add a solid one dot srv1.java to my web application. So right click on the 55, right click on the application, new Servlet, new Servlet. So here srv1, srv1, okay, and hit the next. So URL pattern is srv1, hit finish. Obviously this will be configured in your web.xml file. If you open this, so here you'll find solid one is configured in my web.xml automatically. Let me use here srv1, this srv1, control C, and go to details.html. So this is srv1. Okay, fine guys. So what I will do now, I will close. So this is my srv1, do not contain anything, it's just empty. So let me remove these unnecessary stuff, comments, and delete. I don't want to go for all this stuff, so let me remove this stuff. Remove. Should be house coming Karshika. So here you can see remove, and here also remove. Okay guys, so this is about editor fold done guys. So this is my Servlet, and I want to read all those parameters. Right? So read request parameters values, read details.html static form data. Okay, fine. Let me hold string name into request.get parameter, get parameter, the parameter name, and I will use this for how many parameters are there in my details.html. So 1 2 3 4 parameters are there. Okay, that's it. 2 3 and 4. So here let me go for second is age, third is I think father name. I think in diagram I use the father name, right or not? Let me check in diagram. Where's my diagram here? Did I use? No, father name is not used, so I'll remove this parameter. Okay, fine. So I don't want this parameter. Where is my netbeans? So go to in details.html. Go to details.html and I don't want father name, so remove. Only I want to work with age. That's it. Name, age, marital status. That's it, guys. So let me remove father from here. Removed. And here, what is next then? I need married, or you can use status. Okay, name. So let me use these parameters here. So p name, control C, p name, and then details, p age, then marital status, ms. Okay, fine. And here is ms. That's it. Name, age, status. So let me write the logic. If my status is equal to null, means it's unchecked. So let me write the comment. If marital status is unchecked, it's checkbox, right? In unchecked. So let me keep here status 2. Let me keep status 2 single. Okay, because not married, it's not single, or you can keep as a bachelor. Okay, fine. So here status, sorry guys, I was looking for water. So here marriage status to bachelor, and then so I got already print writer object at the top. Then let me go for now here. Now I want to write the logic to generate dynamic form page. So logic to generate second form dynamically from here, or from Servlet program, that is SRV1. So let us write the logic. So if status, as I said to you, so in this diagram, if it is married, I want to generate a dynamic form page, contains spouse name, number of children, and submit. Okay. And if it is unmarried, I want to generate dynamic form page, contains when to marry, and why to marry. If it is married is true. If it is married, I want to get the spouse name or husband name, a number of children. If it is not married, then when to marry, why to marry. I hope you are clear. If its marital status is, let me go to details and we get the status. So copy. If it is married, now you can generate the contents here. So where is my out.println? And you can keep everything in center, and I want to go for some more decoration. So somewhat break tag. Okay guys, so not out to, yes, out only. So I want to go for somewhat here. Where is my form tag? Let me use same here also, font red, and it should be in H2. Okay guys, so done. Now I want to generate the logic to generate dynamic form page, so out.println. So how can I able to generate? So get this out.println for multiple times, and here I want to generate dynamic form page as a response, right? So let me use the notation here. So here is my dynamic form page, or what's I mentioned diagram, dynamic form page, that is form 2, okay. Here if married, right? So here break tag, and here is break tag, right? Fine guys. And let me add now form. Let me add my form. Here is action. Then here it's, let me point to S2 URL. And here let me add here. Let me add the information. First of all, let me add here. What do you want to get? I want to get spouse name or husband name. First of all, spouse name or husband name. Spouse or husband name, right? And I can add here input tag as it is. So I'll change the attribute names later on, or name of the attribute. So Control V. So you can see here, so use single quote to handle this situation. So name single quote, and here you can change to some other name. like I want to use here st1 or fine, and break tag fine. So spouse name, so spouse name or husband name. Okay, fine. Next I want to generate one more. What is next? Number of children. So here number of children. So here number of children. So you can use here input type text, and here I want to use here st2. I want to use here st2. Okay, I want to use here st2. So use here st2. So how can I able to use st2 here? Because I made this input tag for form2, number of children's input type text, name st2 and break tag. Okay guys, fine. Next I want to generate I want to use same out.println, control C control V. So I need submit button. So input type submit. Okay guys, so here srv1. So here input type submit. So you can use a single quote, you can use here single quote value submit. Okay, or continue. Here also submit. Okay, and then break. That's it. Just end of my form tag. Let me close the form. So close the form tag. Okay, fine. So input type submit, value submit, break we have made already. Then form tag is closed. So this is about one case. Now if it is unmarried, now let's work with now unmarried. Now in the else block, I want same, but if it is unmarried, now in the else block you can see here what I made here. In the else block. Okay, fine. So dynamic form page 2 if unmarried, right? If unmarried, or checkbox not checked, fine. So here again I want to forward the same form to s2 URL. Then spouse name, or instead of using spouse name, here I will use when to marry. When do you want to get married? Okay, and same as it is, and instead of number of children, I want to send why do you want to get married? That's it. Okay, fine. Submit. Okay, fine. /font tag. So let me close here font. That's it. Here I want to use here blue. Okay, so close off font, here is blue contents. Okay, and go to up. That's it. If married, if unmarried. Okay, fine. So done, guys. So up to here, red, blue, and Control C. Close the font. Close the font. Okay, fine. If it is unmarried, so go back. Fine, guys. So finally, at last, you have to close the streams. So out.println. So finally, out.close. Okay, fine. So this is about solid one. This is about solid one. This is about your solid one, right? Fine. So let me add solid 2. Let me add solid 2. So here is s1 URL. What I added here? srv1 and web.xml contains srv1. And here I will change to, instead of s2 to, I will change later on. Hold on. Instead of s2 to, I will change srv2. Fine. So again, we'll go for adding next solid, that is srv2. srv2. So let me add srv2. Right click on the project, new solid. New solid. So let me give the name as srv2. srv2. Hit the next. Hit the finish. So URL pattern is a srv2. Hit the finish. Okay, guys. So remove unwanted comments. Delete. Deleted. I don't want all this to be displayed here. And these are common stuff. These are editor fold comments. One do get method, one do post method. Okay, and if you want to get some more information about your solid, you can use get solid info. Fine. So let me go to my solid 2, and here I want to read. So here, what is the URL I configured for solid 2? This is for solid 1. srv1, srv1, srv2, srv2. Solid mapping for srv1, that is srv1. Solid mapping for srv2, that is srv2. So let me copy this srv2. Copy this srv2 and go to solid 1. I'm in solid 1. Check it here. I'm in solid 1. Scroll down, and here instead of s2 URL, so configure here srv2. Configure here srv2 because I want to send request to srv2, right? Solid 2. File menu, save all. Save all. Okay, fine. Go to srv2. In srv2, I want to read first form, that is static form data, static form whose name is details.html. Read first form data. Okay, read first form data. So how can I read? So directly, let me use this out.println for multiple times, and let me remove these contents. I want everything like same, so I want to go for same contents. So give good fill. I want colors and decoration, that's it. So here I'm using, okay, fine. So let me use here same, Control V. Okay, fine. Home. So out.println, and let me change here center font red, and here let me change the contents. Instead of dynamic form page, not if married, I'll write here first form data. First form data, FIRST. First form data is first form data. What is the first form data? First form, that is static form. Details.html. It's a static form. Static form data is, I'm trying to read static form data. Okay, fine. So Now let me add here. And here I'm trying to read all the information. So font, right, first form data, static form data is, now let me read all the values. So already I mentioned break name, let me read the name. Okay, so here name, and let me use the request dot get parameter. So what's the parameter name? What is the parameter name? First parameter form name. Let me use the p name. What is the parameter name? Is p name. Control C, configure here p name. Next up, I want to read age. I think I should use here break tag. Age is, okay, age is, so plus request dot get parameter, and here request dot get parameter, what's here, page. Control C and just copy here, control V, page. Okay, now I want to show here marriage status. So here break tag marital status is, so plus request dot get parameter and what is the parameter name? I think ms. So parameter name is ms. Let me check here also, I configured same. So here ms, okay, ph, pname, ph, done. Now I try to display read and so here I'm trying to display form 1 or request 1 data. So you can see in this diagram, so this is form 1, control minus, so this is form 1 or static form 1 or request 1 data. Okay, form 1 or request form 1 data, you can see here. So trying to display, and this will come as a response, dynamic web page as a response. Okay, fine, this I'm trying to display. Now after this I want to read second form data. I want to read here second form data. So let me close the font tag and use here break tag 4 times. Okay, so now I want to display second form page data. Okay, so here let me use same font. So here you can see here blue, I want to show in blue. So second form data, break tag is done. Second form data, or you can call dynamic form data. So what I made here as a response, let me check it here, dynamic form page data. Okay, it is form 2. Okay, fine, data is, okay, fine. So I want to show you plus request dot request dot get parameter, and what are the parameter names? So I passed here, I think st1, right, comma plus double quote comma some space, and let me request dot get parameter, and that is st2. You can see here st1 and st2. Fine. st1 and st2. So here is st1, st2. Okay, and here is also st1, st2. srv2, here is also srv2. Okay boss, fine. So srv2. So let me fold the code because this may not be visible to you properly. Okay, I hope this is visible now perfectly. Okay guys, fine. Now just close the stream. Just close the stream and close of font. So close of font, that's it. Now it's a time to run the application. Now time to run the application. Now run the application. So go to request URL. So run the application, run and test the application. Above web application, above web application. So guys, so go to my Servlet, right click. Let me expand why it is hiding. Okay, right click, run. Let me run now. So understanding the need of session tracking. Okay guys, so you can see here. So this is my details.html, and understanding the needs. So I want to use here. Everything is becomes blue. So close of font. Why you are going for decoration? Okay guys, so understand the need of session tracking and session handling. So understand how end user should not be forced to read and ignore some unrelated questions. Generate dynamic form page with dynamic contents. So here I entered Yogesh. Age, suppose if I enter 45. Married status, yes, married. If it is married, with regards to this diagram, if it is married, then dynamic form page contains spouse name and number of children to be generated. Okay, dynamic form page, spouse name and number of children to be generated. So go to browser, hit the continue. So dynamic form page 2, if unmarried. Why? It's married, right? So let me check here what's the mistake I made here. I'm married. So go to Servlet 1. If married status is equal to null, then we are assigned to single. Okay. So let me check here. Details. Where is my MS? marred, married, right? And name is ms, web.xml, not web.xml. So Servlet program 1. If actually you should not use is dot equals. So status dot equals is the is the method. So guys, so this is the case. So let me change. Control Z, some little change. To compare the string, we have to we must have to use equals. Okay, fine. And this is in the case of null. So married status equals. Let me try once again and run the application. So run. If status dot equals, if it is married. Now this time let me close my existing windows. So if I enter Yogesh and if I go for 45, suppose somewhat big data, 45, married, continue. dynamic form page if married. If married is true. Now it is asking for spouse or husband name and number of children. If I enter spouse name Shubhangi and number of children, if I enter 4, okay, and hit the submit. So you can see here, first form page details is null, age is null, married status is null, right? Right guys? First form details is data is null, null, null. And what about this? Where is that other information? Go to SRV2. And why it is not showing for SRV2? Let me check. Second form page should be displayed, right? Okay. Otherwise, let me go for remove the break tag. I will use comma. Otherwise, I think I use too much break tags. No. Then where is second form? So you can see here. Let me change break tag. Everything is back. Second form data, dynamic form page 2, out.println. Did I save? Yes, saved. And let me reload. Where is web.xml file? To reload, simply do modification a little bit and save it. Your application will be reloaded, will be redeployed. It should show SRV2, right? Request is going to SRV2. Yes, it's coming here. So process request, name, age, married status, and font blue. Second form page data, request.get parameter st1, request.get parameter st2. So st1 Shubhangi, st2 4. It is going to SRV2, right? Why it's not coming? Let me rerun the application. Now here we are trying to display. Let me go to the comment here. Here we are trying to display second dynamic form page data, okay, or content. So here second form data, second form data, dynamic form page form 2 is request.get parameter st1, request.get parameter st2, out.println, and finally close. That's it. So right click, run. So if I enter here Yogesh and somewhat 50, yes, married, continue, enter here some name, enter number of children, suppose if I enter 5, continue. Now you can see here married status is null, second form page data is dynamic form page Shubhangi and 5, number of children is 5. So I don't know what was the issue, but it should not happen. Okay, it should not be there. home, out.println blue. I think this might be case. So here close of font tag, that's it. And actually I have to use here break tag. So here I forget to add the break tag. Let me add break tags here, break tag, and let me add break tag here also. Okay, now let me rerun the application. Now you can see here, rerun the application. So rerun the application. So here I entered Yogesh, somewhat 55, married status married, continue. So name Shivangi, number of children 4 or 5, submit. Now you can see here guys, form details is null and null and null, because in connection to my form page could not gather, my form page, dynamic form page could not gather the request one related data or connection one related data into second request, that is second form page, dynamic form page 2. And in second form page, dynamic form page is Shubhangi and 5. It is displaying here. It is displaying here. Okay, fine. So this is the case. So this is the case, guys. So how can I overcome? How can I overcome these issues? So during the session, let me give the request URL to you also. So you can go for details.html either in any of the browser. So here request URL in the browser window. Let us understand first. So after this you will come to know why this issue has occurred. Why this issue has occurred, guys. Okay, continue. And why this issue is coming. This is one case, right? This is one case. It is coming null, null, and spouse name and number of children is coming. Now second case. Now here Yogesh, I want to enter here. Suppose Saraswati, I enter something. Age is, if I enter here, 15. Okay. Is she married? No, she is not married. She is not married. So when she hit continue, dynamic form page form 2 if unmarried. If unmarried means she is not married. So the dynamic form page is generated here. When do you want to get married? But it is not asking for. It is not asking for spouse name or husband name, like we did in the existing application. Okay. So let me run that application also. I'll show that application also. And here right click, run. You will see here also. Okay. So in this application, it is asking for spouse name and number of children, right? So here, when do you want to get married and why do you want to get married? So after 10 years, and get personal friend, right? Get personal friend. When she hit the submit, so you can see here, name is null, age is null, marriage status is null, second form data is after 10 years, and get personal friend. Are you getting? Even though in the first case you will find here name is null, age is null, marriage status is null. Marriage status is null, right? Marriage status is null. But here in the case of marriage status is not married. Okay, same case. But in my previous form, in my first case, this is regarding to static. So let me go for the static here. Static contents. So where is the static contents? So expand web pages, details.html, and let me use some break tag here. So here is break tag. Okay, and you will come to know Control F5. So here this is regarding to static form page. This is regarding to static form page, either married, unmarried, all the stuff. Okay, fine. And this, what about this? This is regarding dynamic form page. Here we are able to generate dynamic form page based on the marital status. So here it's unmarried. Continue. So after 10 years, get personal friend, submit, right? So this is regarding to married. Okay. So this is married. Yogesh 50, age is 50, marital status married. Continue. So husband name or spouse name, Shivangi. So to get number of children 5. So this case is regarding to married. This case is regarding to married and this case is regarding to unmarried. Okay, right guys? So, but even the second request could not able to remember first request related data. First request related data. This behavior is called as stateless behavior of the browser. This behavior is called as stateless behavior of the browser. So let me give this dictation. What is stateless behavior of the browser? During a session, if your application is not capable, during a session, if your application is not capable of remembering client data across multiple requests, during a session, if your application is not capable of remembering client data across multiple requests, then it is called as stateless behavior of your application. Now with respect to this example application, here name, age and marital status is null. It is not capable, my web application is not capable to remember previous request related data into request 2 or request 1 related data into request 2, right? So this behavior is called as stateless behavior. Stateless behavior, let me use in caps. Stateless behavior, not behavior, behavior, right? So that means while processing current request in web application, we cannot use previous request related data. As I said in this diagram, did I prove or not? So case 1, if married, age, name, age, married is null, but spouse name and number of children is coming. In case 2, if it is not married, if married is false, again name, age and married is null. Request form, request to data is after some years and get personal friend. That's it. So it is displaying into my browser window in both the cases. Here I can able to see spouse name, and here I can see when to marry, why to marry in both the cases. So what is the conclusion? Okay. So you should know what is session. What is a session? As I taught you what is session here. The session is set of continuous and related operations. Okay, fine guys. So let me copy it once again here. So what is session here? Set of continuous and set of continuous, caps is on, set of continuous. So you will come to know what is stateless. Means in this data I am not able to remember this session data, request 1 data to request 2 cycle, or connection 1 cycle to connection from connection 1 cycle to connection 2 cycle, or you can call request 1 to request 2. So this behavior is called as stateless behavior of web application. So what is session? So to remember this session, set of continuous and related operations performed on the web applications by the client or the browser window with the support of multiple request and response is called as session. Some of the real-time examples of session: login to log out or booking of movie tickets. So by default all web applications are stateless web application. By default all web applications are stateless web application by default. Okay, चेन काढणं त्याच्या पायातली छुई चालू आहे. तुम्हाला मजा वाटली ना दुसऱ्यांना डिस्टर्ब करणं. So by default all web applications are stateless web applications. So during a session, if web application is able to remember what is the meaning of stateless web application, or how can I prove? So this proves, this example web application proves is a stateless web application. Okay, means I'm repeating once again, stateless behavior of web application. During a session, if web application is not capable of remembering client data across the multiple requests, then it is called as stateless behavior of web application. So by default, all web applications are stateless web application. Means during a session, if web application is able to remember, so let us proceed for stateless. During a session, let me go for stateful. Okay, so by default all web applications are stateless web application by default. So the conclusion is, by default all web applications are stateless web application. So during a session, if web application is able to remember, now apart from stateless to stateful, I am going for stateful. During a session, what is stateful web application? Stateful behavior of web application. Stateful behavior of web application. Okay guys, so keep in mind, let me go for stateful. During a session, if web application is able to remember, during a session, if web application is able to remember, during a session, if web application is able to remember client data across the multiple requests, then it is called as stateful behavior of web application. During a session, if web application is able to remember client data across multiple requests, during a session, if web application is able to remember client data, means request 1 data to request 2, or request 2 data to request 3, and continuous sequence, okay, then it is called as stateful behavior of web application. That means while processing current request in web application, we can use previous request related data or information in second request. So in this application, second dynamic form page request could not able to get first static form page request data. Second request 2 data, request 2 cannot able to get request 1 data. That's it. So this nature is called as stateless behavior. But I want to remember, then we need to work with the stateful behavior. To make a web application as a stateful web applications, then we need to work with the session tracking or session management techniques. Okay, so session management techniques to work with to make Java web application, or to make web application as a stateful web applications, we need to work with the session tracking or session management techniques. An example scenario of stateless behavior of web application is nothing but this above applications. Just now we created this above application. This is the application, guys. Or you can go for browser. This is the application. This is one case. Okay. This is one case. What the hell? Okay. So here up to, without, if not married. Okay. If married, and this is static. Okay, fine. So an example scenario of stateless behavior of web application is nothing but this above application, that is generate 2 dynamic form page, where SRV2 solid program is getting the request from client, but it fails to read and use request 1 data. That means the web application is failing to use previous request 1 data while processing current request. The stateless behavior of web application is nothing but the above web application, that is generate 2 dynamic form page, where SRV2 program, solid 2 program, is getting the request from client, but it fails to read and use the request one data. That means the web application is failing to use previous request data while processing current request. Let me conclude this discussion. So this above whole discussion denotes that web server always treats browser as a new client. Web server always treats browser window as a new client for each request. Even though same browser window is giving multiple requests. Right? Conclusion is that this above whole discussion denotes that every browser window, the web server always treats browser window as a new client. Web server always treats to the browser window as a new client for each request. Whenever the browser gives the new request, that request will treat it as a new browser. One request, new browser. Again, second request from the same browser, again new. It will treat as a new, but not as a unknown browser. You can call. So even though same browser window is giving multiple requests to the same server of web application, so this will treat as a stateless. So because of this, Java web applications are stateless web application by default. Again, the question may raise in your mind. Why web applications are stateless web applications by default? Okay. Just now I learned about our generate to what are the practical implementation we did here. This 55 generate to dynamic form page, where we are capable to generate dynamic form page, but not able to remember request one data into request two. So that's what we can able to see here, null, and here is second request data. So here also same, null and second request data. That's it, guys. So why web applications are stateless web application by default? So the answer is web application protocols. So web applications are stateless by default. Every web application is stateless. I want to make it stateful. That we'll see later on how to make stateful. But first of all, let me convey this message to you. Why web applications are stateless web applications by default? Web applications are stateless by default because the protocol HTTP is given as a stateless protocol. Keep in mind, the protocol HTTP is given as a stateless protocol. So now you have got some idea. I hope so. Why web applications are stateless by default? Because HTTP protocol is given as a stateless protocol. So according to this stateless protocol is according to this stateless protocol for every new request to the web application of server of server from browser window as a client. So for every new request to the web application of a server from browser window as a client, one new connection will be created between browser window and server. That connection will be closed automatically once the request related response once the request related response goes or sent to browser window from web application. If you look at this diagram, in this diagram, so this form page has been submitted by the user from browser window in the form of request 1. Now Servlet 1 will process that request and send the response back to browser window. This is called as connection 1. So request 1 and response 1. Request 1 and response 1. This is new connection. Okay. And again, when the dynamic form page submits the data to the web applications, again connection 2 will be created as a request 2 and response 2. Request 2 and response 2. This is called as connection 2. So because of this nature, according to the stateless protocol, for every new request to the web application, of server from browser window, one new connection will be created between browser window and web server. That means connection will be closed automatically once the request letter response goes to browser window from web application. Due to this, one connection related request data is not visible and accessible while processing A. Due to this, one connection related request data is not visible and accessible while processing another connection related request given by client or browser window. Due to this, one connection related request data is not visible and accessible while processing another connection related request given by client or browser window. So because of this reason, I can see here null for name, age and marital status for first form details.html static form page, and I can able to see second form page data. Here also same, null for first form details.html and second form page I can able to see, right? Let me show once again. So here I enter Yogesh, age 50 and it's married. Continue, I can see here spouse name and number of children. If I go here, so here you can see here Saraswati, age is 15, married status unmarried, you can see here unmarried. Continue. Now you can see here dynamic form page, if married, husband, asking for husband name, spouse, husband name and number of children, or spouse name or number of children. In second dynamic form page, when do you want to marry and why do you want to get married, right? Dynamic form page we are generating. Now here if I enter Shubhangi and number of children 4 or 5, okay, submit. So here you can see name, null for name, age and marriage status, but I can see second form data Shubhangi and 4. So here if I enter here after 10 years and get personal friend, submit. So here also null and form page, means first request related data is not visible in second request, or second request could not able to read or access request 1 related data. This nature is called as stateless behavior of web application. Okay, so here also request 2 could not able to read request 1 data. Okay guys, so this above whole discussion denotes that web server always treats browser window as a new client. This above whole discussion denotes that browser window web server always treats browser window as a new client for each request, even though same browser window is giving multiple requests to the same web server of web application. Okay, so this is called as, so this I can say every web application by default are stateless web application. Again, the question may arise in your mind. By default, just now I learned why by default Java why by default web applications are stateless, right? Because of HTTP protocol is stateless, and every server treats every browser as a new request. For every request from browser window to server as a new browser. Okay, fine. So here protocol, HTTP protocol. Then the question is here, why protocol is designed as a stateless? Why it is not given as a stateful protocol, right? Why protocol HTTP is designed as a stateless and it's not given as a stateful protocol? So the solution is, the answer for this, if protocol HTTP is given as a stateful protocol, then client or browser window, e protocol HTTP, e protocol HTTP, HTTP is given as a stateful protocol, then client or browser window uses single connection to communicate with the web server for multiple requests. To communicate with the web server for multiple requests given to web application. So this gives the chance to browser window or end user to engage the connections between browser window and web server for long period of time and keep them idle state for long time. So this may create the situation of reaching maximum connection. This may create the situation of reaching maximum connections, busy or waiting of a web server, even though most of the connections are idle or not busy. So this is the case. So to overcome this problem, due to this, the browser window creates, to overcome this problem, the protocol HTTP is designed as stateless protocol. Because of this reason, to overcome this above problem, I don't want to keep my server to be busy for longer period of time for a single client or for a single browser window with the help of single request. The protocol HTTP has designed as a stateless protocol. So due to this, browser window creates new connection with web server for every request. So due to this, browser window creates new request or new connection with the web server for every new request and closes that connection once request related response reaches or goes or comes back to browser window from web server. Keep in mind, this point is important. Due to this, browser window creates new connection with web server for every request and closes that connection once the request related response goes back to or reaches back to browser window from web server. So due to this, there is no chance or possibility of client or browser window engaging or keeping connection busy connection with server in idle state for longer period of time. So web server never reaches maximum connection and never maintains idle connections. So for this benefit, to achieve this benefit, the protocol HTTP is also designed as a stateless protocol. HTTP is designed as a stateless protocol. Okay, fine. So So guys, the stateless behavior of protocol HTTP, the stateless behavior of protocol HTTP makes web application as a stateless web application. That means no web resource program can use previous request data while processing current request during session by default by default by default by default by default nature of HTTP protocol as stateless. Okay, so the stateless behavior of protocol HTTP makes web application. The stateless behavior of protocol HTTP makes web application as a stateless web application. Means the behavior of HTTP protocol treats as a stateless behavior of web application. That means no web resource program can use previous request data while processing current request during a session. By default nature of protocol as a stateless HTTP. So to make a web application as a stateful, I want to remember previous request data into second request or next request. That is called as stateful. So to make a web application as a stateful web application, we have to use session tracking or session management techniques. We have to use session tracking or session handling techniques. Okay. So to make our web application as a stateful web application, we need to use session management techniques or session tracking techniques or session handling techniques. So now it's a time. So till now we have learned about what's the need of session. What's the need of session, or what is session? What's the need of session? What is session? Okay, the session is continuous and data operation to be done on web applications by using multiple requests and responses. Is called as session. And I want to make my web application as a stateful web application, but not as a stateless. We need to use session handling. So till now I learned about what is the need of session. What is session? Stateless behavior. So let me go one by one. I learned about form page, static form page, dynamic form page, their pros and cons, dynamic form page, as well as pros and cons. Pros and cons. Then as well as static form page web application, then problem with this, as well as solution with this. And then I learned about dynamic form page, how to create dynamic form page. Okay, as well as their problems and solution. The solution is we need to use session handling. Okay, then we learned about stateless, stateful. Okay, stateless as well as stateful behavior of web applications. Then current request, we made a conclusion. So current request by default, current request could not remember, could not read, or access previous request data, okay. Then we made a conclusion that every web application is a stateless web application. Every web application stateless web application by default. Again we have learned, the question is, we have gathered, we have understood why every web application is stateless web application by default. Then the solution we have made, why HTTP protocol, why the protocol HTTP, the protocol HTTP is stateless by default. Then we learned about then how to overcome the stateless web app by default, okay. Then how to overcome the nature of protocol HTTP by default. So now we shall see now how to overcome the nature protocol of HTTP by default. So we have to use session tracking to make web application, okay, to make web application as stateful web application, as a stateful web application by default. To make web application as a stateful web application, we have to use session tracking or session handling or session management techniques. So to make web application as a stateful web application, use session tracking, session management or session handling techniques. So what are the session tracking techniques are there? First of all, we should know what is session. Already I explained you, but let me get once again, let me have the copy and I'll paste here. I don't want to do anything great, okay. So I'll copy these things and more than enough, just for remembering sake, okay. So here session, set of continuous and related operations performed on a web application by client or browser window with the support of multiple request and response is called as sessions. So real-time examples, login and log out of Gmails, booking movie tickets, remembering user identity during a session, okay. What are the session tracking techniques are there, or what are the session handling techniques are there? So to make web application as a stateful web applications, even though protocol HTTP is stateless, we need to work with the session handling techniques, and these techniques are: first is hidden form fields, second is HTTP cookies, wait for 5 minutes. Second is HTTP cookies, 5 minutes only, I'll stop, okay. I'm drinking water. Second is HTTP cookies, third is HTTP session with the cookies, and fourth is HTTP session with URL rewriting, okay. So with the help of these above 4 techniques, we can able to achieve session handling. Although we can able to compare with each others what are the pros and cons are available. So session tracking, let me give you some note points. Let me add some note points. So session tracking makes, or session handling or session tracking makes web application, sorry, session tracking or session handling makes Java web application to keep the track of, or to keep the remembering the client data across multiple requests during a session. As well as stateful web application is nothing but a web application whose web resource programs can use previous request data while processing current request of a session. Let me give the note point. Session tracking or handling makes Java web application to keep track or record, or to remember client data or browser data across the multiple requests during a session. So as well as, let me add the next point. So stateful web application is nothing but a web application. Stateful web application is nothing but a web application whose web resource programs can use previous request data while processing current request of a session. So guys, let us see these techniques. So session tracking techniques. So let me use technique 1, hidden form field. Session tracking techniques. So first techniques, as well as, let us see now, understand and practical implementation. Understand how to create hidden form field, how to create hidden form fields. What is hidden form field? As well as hidden form field, as well as their pros, their benefits or pros, and their cons, as well as or in advantages, comma disadvantages. You can call advantages or disadvantages, that's it. As well as we shall see for some of the points to remember, and we shall see about practical implementation of hidden form field. Okay guys, okay boss, fine, we shall see now. So what is hidden form field? Hidden boxes are visible and